My name is Vermaak. You're watching Let's Get Real with Vermaak, because it's come to my attention that life is mostly cuck, largely embarrassing, and only infrequently punctuated with moments of joy, success, and happiness. And we never talk about it in those terms. So on this show, I interview people who I think can give us some real insights about real advice, about real life. And I'm talking to Chris Georgian not only because he's a media personality, a radio interviewer, and he started a media company, but he's had his fair share of cuck in his life. Chris, do you want to talk about that?
I, I I would like to talk about that. I like to always talk about myself. Yeah, sure. Just in general, cuck, or like how do
Let's
I
talk.
define cuck?
Well, that's the first question. And, people get very sensitive when you touch them on their studio, but if you touch them on their cuck, it's worse. So people must volunteer what they want to talk about. But what I want to get at the end of each session is practical tips to cope with the daily struggle of life. And in your case, I know that you've had physical challenges in terms of disease, you've had mental challenges, um,
Yeah.
and somehow you still carry on and you make a success of it and you keep coming back. How does that work? Where do you want to start?
Yeah, look, I think just in general is the way that we perceive other people's lives, because we see the before and we see the after, we don't see the in between, and that's where predominantly where all the real cuck actually happens, right? So, when I thought about it, and I think this applies to everyone's life. It's nice to live a normal day. When you look back and you had like some simple obstacles, you went here, you came back, you spoke to this person, you had electricity, you whatever it may be, right? And there's an abnormal day, which is something that you genuinely do not want, because it for me being one, a manic but also anxiety ridden as well as a depressive, right, human
Right.
being. For me, chaos reigns supreme when something largely goes wrong. And even when it goes wrong in a very small capacity, what it does is it triggers a much bigger
Mm.
picture of what else it could be going wrong, or I suppose skeletons of the past, things that there's triggers within you that you cannot get rid of, it's scars, whatever it may be. And so the thing is that abnormality within everyday life can be constituted as cuck,
It
and
is.
yeah, that's it.
Okay. So now it is very cuck, and thank you for acknowledging that, because the combination of mania, anxiety, and depression, it's there all the time. And yet you show up and you do radio shows and you help people like me with my media. So I'm trying to figure out if there's a trick to it. Is there a lot of white knuckling through this?
That's very racist. But anyway, kidding. Right. I don't know what white knuckling does. That mean just putting your like face to the grinding, in
Yes,
other words. Yeah.
literally just grinding through it, because the
Yeah.
advice says think of a goal, believe in yourself. But I think a lot of but that doesn't work when you're in that state, right?
No, no. The thing is that when you are in a state of absolution, so when you are at a very low state, it's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of whatever it is, things that are happening to you, whatever it is by other people, by other situations. There is, for me, I don't know the future. Otherwise, like, why would I care at that particular point, right? So it feels as though this is going to be my life forever. You understand? And
Sure.
it's not on any one particular day. The thing is that, let's say elements of chaos or phases of chaos or chapters of chaos, whatever it is, cuckness, right, are exactly that. They're quite prolonged in a way that allows you to start feel that this is the new kind of normal. And when I kind of like shook my head and it was like, oh, but dismissive as to like coffee cup quotes, as you always, it's I can't stand a condescending nature of, well, you'll get through this, or think more positively, or there must be another solution too. No, actually, there isn't in my line of sight, right? And when I'm not open, because I pride myself on having control over my own thoughts, own actions, own accountability. I don't care. It doesn't matter, right? I need to get through it on my own, so that I know I have the skill set specifically, right, to be able to say, I can bank this on what I have done, and nobody else can take kind of credit for that, because not because it's so egotistical. I don't want to know that a little bit of me is created or, again, dependent on
Mm.
something else or somebody else. So for me, it is genuinely, and I've experienced this enough times. I think, like most people, maybe some less, maybe some more. Again, I don't like comparing myself to other people because it kind of trivializes my experience in my life
Mm.
that I go through, not discounting other people's dismay and obviously misfortune or whatever it may be. I am empathetic, right? But growing up, sidebar, growing up, there's no fault to my parents. I'm just saying the
Mm.
one thing that I would consistently hear from my mother and my father is that there are people with bigger problems than you. So it was very
Terrible.
dismissive.
Oh,
Yes, it is.
terrible. Please don't
Yeah.
ever say that to people. No, terrible. Boo,
No.
boo.
I know it is, boo. It is. So they did some things wrong. That's okay. I stopped blaming my parents when I was 19 about my life, and I was like, whatever has happened, has happened. You need to like take some control and move on. But the thing is that stuck because enough formative years of hearing that makes you go back
Mm.
into your room as a kid, be very kind of isolated, be very, again, dismissive of, it doesn't matter,
Mm.
you don't matter, like your thoughts don't matter, your nothing matters, right? So as the external world treats you in a certain way, navigates you in a certain way, start to narrate you in a certain way, you start to follow that. And that for me was pretty much the most destructive kind of like molding of my being, was doing that.
So let us talk about that concept of telling people, oh, everything will pass, everything happens for a reason,
No.
or there are other people with bigger problems. Stop that shit. So I would rather suggest to say to people, instead of just believe in yourself or this too will pass, affirm them. Doesn't matter what the problem you say, that's cuck, not that's
Yeah.
cuck, and you'll get over it. Just affirm
Yeah.
them, say, oh, that's terrible. It sounds terrible. Good luck.
Yeah.
But the sting of your problem isn't as great as the starving
No.
children or in Africa. That's terrible feedback.
It also has molded me, or whatever it may be. Again, please, I'm going to disclaim this. What is to disclaim this? I've had 2 strokes, so please, my diction is not great, right? So I might have to explain things like in elementary style. The thing is that it's actually forced me to be a lot more isolated with my thoughts, because I
Mm.
don't need I don't need or want validation either, which I know is
Yeah.
unhealthy. I get that. There's, my family is very supportive. They are the people that I trust the most, love the most, with everything, right? But the thing is, I won't even go there. And I get to that, again, as I said, it's unhealthy, but for me, it works. The better of the two evils is what works for me. And so, as you said there, like, I don't even want affirmation. Does that make sense? Because the thing is that you also need to know your own personality. And
Sure.
mine is one of, if I get the opportunity to procrastinate, do you understand? In
Mm.
other words, I will then go consistently look for, because I have done that before in my life, as predominantly as a teenager, more affirmation, more affirmation, more affirmation, more procrastination, continued, and then I don't get anything done because there might be another opinion that matters.
Okay, so I just want to check in your universe the better of two evils. Just make clear what are the two evils and which one you picked.
Yeah, I picked the one of it's isolation, further
Okay.
isolation, right? Yeah,
Okay.
because I don't want somebody, because I've lived enough of that. Uh, I believe people are evil inherently, right? And perhaps maybe just, again, my cynicism of the world around me, right? They will always, and this was my uncle when I was 10 years old. I love my uncle so much. He would drink so much after hours, right? And when I would go sleep at my, I sleep with my cousins because they're my brothers, right? I would love to listen to me, but he would also corner me. Like I would go get something from the kitchen, and then next thing I turn around, like Theo, which is uncle in Greek. I'd be like, hi, and then he started telling me. He said to me, "You can't even trust your own brothers and sisters," which you know what is a little extreme, but I got what he meant, you know. But the thing is that there's so much that is going on in here. Do you understand?
Sure.
That nobody can come close to understanding empathetically so. You understand? They can kind of maybe get a suggestion of or an idea or whatever it is. That for me doesn't work because what I need is an exact copy of what I am going through, and so I know that for a fact I'm not going to find that anywhere. So I rather choose to be in my own chaos, to control my own
Okay.
process. Yeah, and I know that you maybe have your hand up, but I just want to finish this. I find that I get to a solution quicker without interruptions, from other people or the world around me, if I just let it be. Let me be. Yeah,
Yes, let me be. I love the concept of let me be and bear witness. Bear witness in silence. Don't fix
yes.
me. Let me be. I love it. Okay, so you mentioned the two strokes. Now, talk to me about that because when I look at you, you can't see that you've had two strokes. I know, but how
Yeah.
do you? Is that a mental process or physical process? And this let me be, do it my own way. Was that an important part of becoming functional again?
I don't think anyone could could come close to doing it with me. Does that make sense? What I did, and just to show appreciation for specifically my family, they were very tolerant with my inability to speak, for example, my
Mm,
inability to be able to. With my first stroke, it was obviously a much more severe stroke, only because I didn't get to hospital in time, right? And so the exhaustive 24-hour pain, as I constantly always reminisce about and lament about, the difficulty and frustration of not being able, because I'm a
mm,
communicator, I'm in
sure.
media for 24 years. If I can't use my words, you understand how um, eh, it's unliberating. It's stolen from me. My
Mm,
personality and my being is stolen from me because I've learned to only be me through what I say. And when I know what I want to say, I want to say it, as well. So for me, what I do remember every single day for the longest day was I would get through when I did get back to work and whatever it may be, it doesn't matter, going through any particular one day. It was such a gruel, and I want to somewhat put two R's in there. When I
mm,
was driving home specifically, because I would commute from Joburg to Pretoria, I would there would be the utmost. I suppose depression is not the correct term. There was just this feeling of like it was so hard,
mm.
and I was so demotivated by the end of the day that I didn't even think of the next day. I just had to get up and do it again, because what else are you going to do? And the fact that you can't tell, which I think everyone understands, it's trauma. So you lose somebody you
Mm,
love, you are in an accident, you've lost your job, whatever it is, right? That you genuinely cannot carry on about it with anybody to any extent
sure,
is, I
sure.
think, what frustrates you the most as well. Because the thing is that the world doesn't care.
Yes.
That-
No,
yeah,
that's a profound insight. So the only time that I've experienced that, because we both know manic depression, when
yeah,
you're in the chemical state of dopamine depletion, your experience of that state of ultimate hopelessness is that it will last forever.
yeah,
Because even the
absolutely.
thought, because without the dopamine, you can't think into the future.
No, at all.
And it doesn't matter that you tell me, Vivian, normally you do
Yes,
get through these things because in that moment it feels forever. And that's
yes.
why in these metaphors and myths of the
Mm.
devil, hell is always the place where there is no hope. That's the only thing that you can take away from a human, and then they are in hell. So I appreciate that you said that. And the
Yep.
thing I got from the AA, one day at a time, and you can't explain to people what that is. That one day at a time that you had to drive to work despite not functioning, it's
Yep.
1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time. And for
Yep.
that 1 minute, it is eternity.
Yeah.
And you
Exactly.
are,
Yeah.
and you can't,
Existentially.
you cannot explain that to other people.
No.
And yet you did. So I don't know if you can share skills with us, and yet you did, or do you just go, thank you, hallelujah, I survived it, or is there a
No.
technique?
So in what you know what? First of all, you need to know whether someone wants to listen to what you want to say,
Okay.
whether it's an invitation for your, I suppose, experience and your words of whatever it may be, because then you're going to get a two-way kind of like communication, and then it's going to
Mm.
be potentially rich. So if someone does ask, or within context, because that's the whole thing that media is for me, and so I've learned a lot within my life, is that like, what is the right context for this? Is it the right audience? Like, does what I have to say actually have a place in this particular setting with this person at this time, whatever, both of our lives, or does it actually belong somewhere else? You understand? So speaking out of turn is just speaking with no reason, and that's when you get kind of the idiosyncrasy of it is idiocy, coming in and out. It's because you're not self-aware, and
Mm.
that makes you, yeah. So again, when I do share, predominantly it isn't as, because I understand my own autobiography, and so I don't want to explain to somebody else. I always use it as a point of reference to be able to power what I want to say next. So for example, then I would use, the way that in this year, when I had the second stroke, right? I wasn't. I thought I was going to cry there for a second. I wasn't. It was so. I was so frustrated. Like that. I was like, like this. While it was actually happening, literally. If you don't believe me, I was rolling my eyes. I was like, oh my word, not again, right? I had no patience for the entire rigmarole of this entire recovery process, etc. But because I've already mourned it before, I've gone through
Mm.
the whatever processes of despair, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? The very next day, this, for me, it's important. I went to the gym, came back, I uploaded every single kind of like dictional, app, vocab app, memory app, whatever it is, and I applied myself 4 to 6 hours a day, because it was my. Uh, I wasn't looking for any kind of constitution with any body or anything
Mm.
anywhere else. I just wanted to get through it, get it done, and move on, because you know what, life was happening at that particular moment. And when I say that, I've said, in whatever context this, like, I've had a terrible 2 years before that,
Mm.
work-wise, right? And I'm self-defined by work, also unhealthy,
Sure.
sidebar, right? But to a point where I had the opportunity of a new job, and things had been changing, that I had no time for this to set me back. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So, so I just got on with it, and that's a very Gen X thing to do. Get on with it. And I'm not saying emotions don't matter. They do absolutely matter. And this is, once again, I don't know if your hand is up to make this up. My mother said to me, very important, at a particular point in my life, and they had to really sink in. Like, there's four walls here. I will write I will write quotational quotes around this. It doesn't matter. There are four walls here where you can behave in whatever manner you want. Do it here. Because the moment you walk outside, the world carries on without you or with you. And again, I repeat, nobody cares. So that's
Wow.
exactly what I took. Yeah, no, I agree with her fully. They don't. You have had time and time and time again. I haven't lived like the worst life ever, because people are so cruel to me. They have been cruel to me, but also they are just horrible people that I've had within my line of sight, right? No, it's true, right? So the thing is that I have logic. I work on logic as well. I work on evidence. Specifically me, I must know what's going on to be able to convince myself that my emotions might be on the right track. And the proof is out there. Everyone is going to say that's true, and nobody cares. So that's what I did.
Okay, so that's an interesting perspective then. Then people like you who still have that extraordinary fierce survival skill, where does it come from? So if you look at it in terms of neurochemistry and brain function, the post-anterior mid-cingulate cortex is a place that makes you continue to live despite
Yeah.
hope. So is your experience that you're just carrying on because you've painted a pretty bleak picture, just a biological urge, or do you have a sense of meaning and purpose and hope? Why do you keep on doing
Well,
it if nobody gives a fuck? Or is it just
because
your anterior
no, no,
mid-cingulate
no.
cortex?
It took a very long time for me, and I even said this at the age of 45. I'm gonna say, up to the age of 40. I don't know. It might have happened a little earlier or whatever. It took a long time for me to actually accept that I care. If I
Okay,
don't
you
care,
care.
yeah. And another, everybody says this. I care the most. I don't care if you care. I know it sounds terrible.
Okay,
You understand? Because if I
yeah.
cannot care first, then what on earth am I going to do?
What
I
are you
am
caring for? What are you caring for? For yourself? You care about
for
what?
sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I care. So not only for my well-being, sure, but I also care about. You know what? When I see myself in pain and I see myself in trauma, I'm not going to cry. Like I look at that man, that person, and I feel now deeply for him. Does that make sense?
it does.
Where it wasn't like that before. That changed everything for me.
Okay.
Because the thing is that up to this particular point, and it sounds pathetic because it might be actually, I hadn't learned the difference between a narrative that came from the world around me and a narrative that I had to develop for myself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's fine. I don't care if I developed late in terms of that. At least I got there. You understand? So for me, me first. And I'm
That's
not doing a
fantastic.
meism. Yeah, I'm not doing a meism culture like individualistic, whatever. I'm not. That's bullshit. I'm talking about, can you care for yourself? Otherwise, you have no capacity of understanding the concept of caring for another human being if you do want to, if you choose to.
Okay,
Yeah.
because so now I'm going to do with how you helped me, and now that you've explained this, it doesn't actually matter whether you cared or not, because now I understand where you're coming from. But when you work with people and you're so patient and you're so generous, now it's weird for me to think, yeah, this guy seems so nice, but he actually also doesn't give a fuck, and he shouldn't. But I'll
No,
tell
I
you,
do.
okay,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you where you helped me
Yeah.
because you've been part of my weight loss journey. And that's why I asked you for coping with the cuckness skills. Because when I
Yeah.
said to you, no, and I'm an emotional eater, and you were the one that said to me, Vivian, you have to get an emotional support vegetable. And I did. Check here. You can't see it, but I'm holding up a carrot. And I talked to this thing. And then you realize, oh, wait, it's the wrong way around. You must put the green at the top. It has a little hairstyle.
You
And you
tell me.
talk
Yeah.
to the thing. But you do come up with coping with the cuckness skills like that. So
Yeah.
if we have to say for this session, the one
Yeah.
coping with the cuckness of life skill, how would you define that? And don't feel pressure to come up with another emotional support carrot, although that would be lovely. Give
Look,
us one
I'm now.
skill that we can take here for us.
Ooh, okay. All right. Now I'm going to bring up something very stereotypical. And this is where you can see that, because I know that I'm a nice person and I do have, and I show that, I know I do. I do show that I have a lot of patience and I've got a lot of empathy. And I've proven to myself, I'm saying scientifically, even, right, over the many years that I'm not a bad person at all, right? So here's my thing. The first thing, whenever you are really in a lot of angst and a lot of, like, you are hitting a brick wall, and so on and so forth, right? You must do something nice for somebody else, and not to be only a good person, because that's great. For me, you have
Hmm?
to, by that particular point, you have no recognizable understanding of what kindness is and what empathy. I'm saying even for yourself, love,
Mm.
care, whatever it may be. But also, here's another thing, right? You don't know yet how to solve your own problems. You might solve somebody else's. So when that's why it's multifaceted, and you can get so much out of doing something for somebody else. Very, very self-centered. I get that. Surfing, I get that. Doesn't matter. Nothing's black or white in life, honestly, really, except the colors black and white. But if you do that, you might start to not focus on that cyclic spiraling, whatever it is that you are dealing with. Just take a breather from it, get some perspective, sorry.
Okay, because I don't have that thing that I want to help other people at all. I know, I know you must add value, but it might
Thanks,
be the
Andre.
same. Okay, so it might be the same thing. So let's say you
Yeah,
forgiving me. It doesn't have to come from a place of compassion or niceness, but
it's
there has to
difficult.
be a sense of adding value to others because we're human and we are pack animals. Is that good
Yeah,
enough for you?
I, yeah. You know what? The concept of forgiveness is very, very difficult, right? Because again, you know me. I keep saying this. I am religious, so I struggle with forgive your neighbor, forgive your love everyone. I
Yeah,
do struggle with that because it is for me. It's very humane to be like, no, I can't love someone so like satanically obvious, whatever it is, right? Yeah, but that's okay. You see, that's the thing now. See, so don't do something out of guilt, like whatever it is, because anything that intoxicates your own progress, you must leave out the window. It's difficult to do, but
no, it is very
eventually
difficult.
yeah, the thing is that, okay, listen, if you don't have anything to give, why must you now sit and be expected to give to someone else? You have nothing to give. If you have nothing in the tank, why must you be expected to drive over to
Well,
Oturan or whatever it is? Come on now.
Well,
Does it make sense?
it
Yeah,
does make sense, but that's not my framing as a person who's in a perpetual existential crisis.
no,
And for me now, because I frame things through neuroscience and stats, that it's my anterior mid-cingulate cortex driving me forward in the absence of hope. But there are many people like us, so I'm hoping
yes,
to give them some kind of a guidelines, because in the absence of committing suicide, you're going to keep on breathing. And how do you
yeah,
do that? So
okay.
so
No, I'm with you.
until people find that. But what I've got from this conversation, I'm going to stop it in 5 minutes, is
Yeah,
that it's okay to be depressed, it's okay to be manic, because you still find value. So for you in this, and we've described these moments of isolation, and it feels like eternal darkness.
yeah,
The things
okay.
that make life worth it for you, what are they? And I'm not saying
Oh,
happiness, contentment. Those
that's
things
true.
that you say, okay, this is worth it. I will do it again tomorrow. What is it?
Okay, let me first just say, and I think I've said this to you before. I don't care that to say it again because it's my past, right?
Mm,
I have, I've told you, I've tried to commit suicide twice, right? In
yeah.
those moments, right? In those moments when I was, like I say, existentially broken, there's nothing there, whatever it is. What is your purpose? You see, the thing is, my big thing is in those moments. The only one thing I can remember is not being not there's no reason for me to be here. Reason uh, it coincides with purpose, which I
Mm.
think is overrated.
Amen.
Definitely,
Amen.
absolutely. And you know what the thing is, that because there's no, you know what? Here's the end, or the end line, or what the finish line of life is, when you die. That's it. And to try and follow a dream or a milestone or a
Mm,
goal is is impossible. I'm saying a life purpose.
mm.
There's no such thing. Can you live within moments? That's the big thing. Can
Okay.
you live within and be alive within moments? When I look back at my life, the most meaningful moments in my life had nothing to do with one another. One of my, I don't want to cry. Like, for
Cry,
example,
cry.
no, I don't want to cry because I love my family so much. I would think of these moments as a family, full family, like
Mm,
all my sisters, my dad, my mom, and us having just a dinner or a lunch, or whatever, around the table. And for me, that's a life moment for me,
mm,
because I belong somewhere and I love these people so much, and I can understand so much what divine love is, and so, and through these wonderful people for me, and that for me has that moment has nothing to do with the other existentially
Mm.
live moments for me in my life. So that's how I start to kind of measure happiness.
Sure.
You
And I
know,
also
yeah.
think people must start measuring happiness and how happy am I. But I can tell you what you can measure, cuckness. So on this show, because we're talking about coping with a cuckness, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how cuck is your life at the moment? Or which areas are cuck and which are better or worse than others?
It's my life right now is great. I've been really blessed throughout this year,
Great.
consistently so, and for no other reason, but I believe it was time, because as again, things happen at the right time. I do not
Okay.
believe that everything has to mean something. Does it make sense? So I
Yes.
don't think of the wall or the door closing or my techies that I'm wearing today must mean something. That's where you must drop the BS genuinely. But to be able to note like a year that has been super, super fruitful, and again, I say blessed for me. I'm at a point of 8, so I skis for you. But the rest, there's a
Okay,
lot
we
of
must just make
I've
sure.
been,
So it's
yeah,
really 2 out of 10 in terms of cuckness, but 8 out of 10 in greatness. We must just be clear here. So that's
at
you
this
only have
moment, yeah.
2 out of 10 for cuckness. Okay, so for people who have a lot of cuckness in their life at the moment, what tips
Yeah,
can we give them? Okay, they
okay,
must get an emotional support vegetable. That's number one.
absolutely,
What
yeah.
else can they do?
The second thing is one, please be alone with your thoughts. You understand,
Okay.
and then so that you understand that you are both. You must be your worst critic and your fiercest cheerleader. Let them all in. You understand? It's you're all if you're 100% behind yourself, right? The third thing is genuinely, can you do something about it? How long will it take you to do this? Do you have the skills at this particular point to make it happen? And the fourth, I would say, is if you have 10 problems, this is when I started to really make like change in my life. Many problems. Let's say you have 10. Please only solve one at a time. Like, never mind. Genuinely, I promise you that it's the only way I actually was able to actually move forward. This was in 2017. That's where it started. There were so many problems, but I focused on the one. Because you know what? The rest can someone go to hell. Really, genuinely, right? Because they've been there for so long as it is. But fix one problem at a time. One, obviously, you know what I'm saying to you? Like, you one, understand what success over your own ghosts and, you know what I'm saying to you, are. And two, you can get to the rest in, one at a time.
Sure.
Does that
So
help?
it does help. So it does help. And then from my side, because I'm going to end it now, is to say thank you for this honesty and the tips. And that if your life is cuck, and it will go through varying stages of cuck, don't be upset by the cuck. Be curious about the cuck, investigate it, be creative about it, be
Yeah,
comfortable with being confused. And I love the way you said that you are comfortable with the chaos in which you're in. There isn't a part of you that says, I
yeah,
must fix the chaos. You are diving into the chaos and accepting it for what it is. And that is why people must show up as they are,
yeah.
not as they
Amen.
could be or should be. And what you
Yeah,
are is probably average and you're probably a bit of a doers, but then you have to show up like that.
yeah.
And Chris, this has been amazing, but I must tell you,
I must have,
those words your mother said to you are so devastating. I'm putting them on, and I can just
yeah.
imagine her talking to the little Chris and just going, "No, you listen to me, my boy. I can't do I can't do a Greek accent, but between these four walls, you can do what you want. But when you walk
Right.
outside there, nobody gives a fuck." Look, she probably didn't swear, but I think, oh my God, if that doesn't set the tone, dan weet ek nie, but well done unto you, mommy. You gave him a lekker snort
Yeah.
clap, a wake up call,
That
young
was,
in
yeah,
life.
one of the best. Really, I cherish my mother because she has so much of those things, to straightforward. No, 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 no filter. It helped.
Ja, daai maar vat geen kak nie.